Okay, so what are the next steps? Now, this is the bit I find the majority of people just get stuck on. They procrastinate because now the work is on you. Now the real work really starts, right? You've got to roll up your sleeves, get dirty, and, get involved. Otherwise, you're not really going to start to make some proper progression. Just watching me go through everything we've been doing in the lessons. So I tried to put together a bit of a guide, a bit of a practical guide to help you get started, but I need to preface this with, it's very hard for us to give, what's going to be quote unquote the best advice for each of you, because you're all going to be at different stages in your journey. Okay, so I'm going to do this pretty much through the lens of someone who has kind of gone through the course for the first time, and done everything that we've said, watched it in chronological order, done the 3-step process, etc., etc. If you're someone who's a bit further along, a bit more advanced, you have prior experience, then trust yourself to figure out what probably is the best next steps for you, okay, based on what I'm saying here. Now, what I will also say is some of you have probably blasted through the course 1x, 2x speed or whatever, maybe skipped a few lessons and you're watching this trade plan module straight away because you just want to get stuck into trading. This is where you might need to ask yourself, do you need to drop your ego a bit? How well do you understand all of the stuff we teach, right? The frameworks, the market structure, things like that. Maybe it's going to be a lot better for you to actually take a few steps back, go and watch the previous lessons, get very comfortable with market structure, each individual concept, before you try and do this, okay? All right, that's just my little sort of warning out of the way. So this is basically going to be sort of overall a 3-step process. 1, write your trade plan. 2, forward test. 3, back test, okay? So first step, you only really kind of need to do once, which is obviously write your trade plan. We've given you, I think, a very, very solid sort of overview and kind of putting one in your hands as we've gone through in this module. But now you need to mold it a little bit, right? Pick what time frames you're going to use. Are you going to be doing that more sort of swing approach with the daily, the 4-hour and the M15? You might want to add in the 1 hour in there, whatever. Or are you going to be doing sort of that more day trading approach? And are you going to be using the M5 or the M1 for execution, for example? What pair or multiple pairs are you going to trade? If you are taking more of that day trading approach, I would highly recommend you just pick one pair and probably just use euro dollar. Okay, majority of the community trade that, and you can compare to us as well, and then pick what session or multiple sessions you may be trading. Okay, there's no right or wrong here. It's just, in terms of sessions, the best, what is right is when can you actually be in the charts, when can you actually execute, what can you actually sustainably do with your lifestyle, right? Try it and pick when you can be on the charts. Pick your entry models, okay? We recommend, as you're starting out, if you're wondering where to start, just use liquidity entry model 2, so A and B, or maybe even just A, just use fake break, just because it just keeps it simple and it should give you a pretty good high strike rate. Okay, for some of you may want to also decide that you're just going to execute that, but you may also want to start building data on the other entry models. So what I mean by that is when you're back testing or when you're in the live market forward testing, only execute this, but if you see like entry model 1 or 3 or whatever present itself, don't trade it, okay? Be disciplined to your actual plan, but you might want to like track that and collect data on it. So then when you are really comfortable with liquidity entry model 2 and you're ready to start looking at other entry models potentially, you're not starting from scratch, you actually have some data, okay? But if you're kind of completely beginner or whatever and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, just focus on this. And don't worry about maybe the others, because it can lead to FOMO and just create a lot of extra work as well with recording stuff. So it's up to you. Obviously, pick your management strategy. I would say at the start, just keep it simple. Literally just regardless of whether you're trading sort of pro trend, counter trend, whatever, just use like set and forget fixed 5R. And then, mold it from there. If you're entering on the M15, you might want to do 3R, 4R, like just pick something. It doesn't massively matter, okay? You're not just having this trade plan and trying to pass a funding challenge straight away. If you're doing that, I mean, I don't want to go on a rant about that now, but this is not the way you should be approaching this. You should be approaching this of, I need a starting point, I need to get experience, I need to collect my data, let me use something that's somewhat simple with management, that keeps the emotions out of it, fix 5R, there you go, right? There's no holy grail to this. Just pick something and then get more advanced with it as you go and as your data tells you. And then basically just fill this out in Notion in the trade plan and trade setups folder. So if you go to your trading dashboards, basically you want to just be doing this left-hand side first, okay? So go into the trading plan. Look, this is just a rough, template of what you can use, okay? Mold this into what makes sense to you. Obviously, you've been given all of the diagrams and stuff that we've gone through for the lessons so far, right? So you might just want to chuck one of those diagrams in, like the high plan overview. You might want to add in your own. You might want to just write some stuff out here, like just do what makes sense to you. Some of you like to add in, how you want to map. Some people find that pointless, right? Put your entry models in here and then put a few high probability trade examples as well once you've collected those. So, every day, every morning during a session, whatever, you want to be having a quick scan of this before you're about to execute a trade. Go through your checklist if that helps, and then have a quick scan of what those trade setups actually look like, so it can help you visualize what you need to be waiting for. Okay, so yeah, you should have more than enough to get you going with this. And then the setups, this is something you want to build out. Okay, so I'll just put entry model 1 to 4 here, right? You might want to add in all of those liquidity entry models as we've had them, earlier in the course. You might want to call it whatever, right? This needs to be very custom to you, or you can literally just copy it as we've done it with, LQ, EM1, EM2A, EM2B, etc., etc. And all you want to do when you go in there, you can rename it up here. Add in like the actual individual diagram of that entry model, and then over time as you go, add in actual real life trade examples here. Okay, so you can just quickly scan that and go, what does a winning setup look like that's valid for this entry model? And it's really good just to quickly scan through this before your session or during a session, or just remind yourself when you're back testing, and building this out will really, really help you over time. Okay, but step 1 is literally just get that trade plan, decide what entry model you're trading, decide your management, like just write it in here and just pick something, have your starting point. Okay, then add in the setups that you're going to trade, and then over time, get the diagrams in there now of what it actually looks like, and then over time add your examples, right, flesh it out. Okay, and then that'll be pretty much your step 1 done. So step 2 is now you need to just do your daily forward testing. Okay, so literally you're ready to go now. Once you've got this plan, every single day going forward, start tracking the live market now. Okay, so what I'd recommend, starting point, just pick euro dollar and follow along with us, right? So every day, without fail, you need to be doing this. Now, some of you, I know you have jobs, other commitments, etc. When you go on holiday, whatever it is, you might not actually be able to be on the chart that day. But kind of what I mean by this is when you do next have time, go back and actually do the work. Like go and look back on that day and just create a markup for it with the benefit of hindsight, whatever, just so you are tracking these going forward, okay? So essentially what a markup is, because I just realized some of you might not know what this is at that point, is if you go into the Discord and then you look at the team content, this might have changed around by the time you're watching this, depending on what we've done on the Discord, but there should be this team content tab, and then you can go into the photon analysis or the photon markups, okay? So photon markups, we'll go into this in more depth in the following module where we talk about testing, but it's essentially you just want to mark up what happened during the session, right? So you've got that session's price action, this is the M15, and just make annotations, step by step, explain what happened, what you saw, what you were looking for, and then same for your entry time frame, right? You can mark out any trades, say what happened, whether there was a no tag, whether you took a loss, and you're literally just marking up step by step your analysis, what you saw, what you thought, add as much or as little detail as you want, and you can see over a year's worth of examples at the moment so far in here. Historically, you can literally scroll back as far back as you want to go. Okay, so the idea is that you want to be doing this with your plan, so just tracking your plan every day. So where I've written here execution, basically that means some of you might just want to mark up at the start, like you literally just put your your risk to reward tool on, and you as you see a setup and you just look to see how price reacts. Like you might not want to bother with setting up MT4 or whatever you want to use for executing. Some of you might want to do that straight away. It's good to just get stuck in, feeling a little bit of emotions, and use a demo account just to try and execute these trades. I would definitely not just sit up on markups forever. For the first week or two, maybe a month, you might just want to mark up like I just showed you with the risk to reward tool. Then at least open the demo account, right? Get used to execution, get used to feeling a bit of emotions and actually doing it. And then eventually open a small live account. Or some of you who might be experienced, you might already be at this stage, okay? Now, every day you do your markups, compare them, like I just showed, to the team channels. Okay, so every day you want to be doing your own analysis before the session, and then you can come into here. We post them before London and New York, and you can see what we're analysing pre-session, what we're looking for, sort of our bias and some potential POIs. Do yours first, then look at ours, not the other way around, right? Because over time, you would then build trust in your own approach and your own analysis, and it's great for you to then compare to ours and see what we're doing. Now, as you get more and more experience, you eventually might just not even want to bother looking at this. because you don't need our, you might have a different bias, right? You might have a different slightly way of looking at the market, and you don't want to be influenced by us, okay? When you've built that trust in your own approach, and that's fine. Then for the post session, when the session's over, when the day is over, then you can come in and look at, how did it play out? Were there any trade setups? And do all of that, okay? So compared to ours every single day, use this to your advantage. And like I said, there's all the historical ones here as well, which you can go back through. And then, we post the session recap videos as well. So definitely watch that, because that's where we go into a lot more detail, really be able to get a full thought process over of how that session played out, and things like that. So like I said, collect your own markups. This is key. Don't just grab ours from the Discord and chuck it in and pretend you're doing the work. No, you need to be doing it yourself, and adding and recording these. So where are you going to do that? Well, if you go back into Notion and then go into a testing thing and click on forward test here, and then you can create a new template. Okay, so there's one already here, or just click generate and it will open up a new folder. And essentially what that folder will look like is one of these. Okay, so imagine if you were in January and you were in the last week of January, and you were filling this out. Okay, click into here, and then you've got basically each day of the week, right? And all you would do is you would take your higher time frame markups, whether that's, say the 4-hour chart, and you would just add in your trading view link in here and the screenshot. Okay, so you can just see your markup there. It's just a way of tracking it, and then you can do it for your medium time frame, and you can do it for your lower time frame. Okay, so you've got all 3 time frames in there, just a visual representation with your markup of all the price action and any trades setups there. And that's where you can just quickly scan back through it. When you get to the end of the week, you might want to add up this, the total R for your trade plan, and then make sure you do the key lessons as well, anything like that, and keep track of that, okay? So that's essentially markups. You don't need to overcomplicate that any more than that. It's all about just, you will build up, before you know it, it'll be the end of the year, end of the quarter, whatever, and you will have tons of markups here, which you can go quickly scan back through, and this becomes a super useful resource, okay? So collect your own ones in there. You might even want to add the team ones as well to yours, so you've got both. And then what you may also want to do, or what I would highly recommend, is not just doing the markups, but actually starting to record like any individual setups or trades that you take, so you can start to kind of get the more, quantitative data. We can start to see a bit more stats. So there's kind of 2 ways you can do this. They're both basically the same, so it doesn't really matter. You can either use the backtesting table, or you can use the table in the trade journal. They're basically the exact same table. It's up to you how you want to do it. So kind of if you're just starting out, you probably just might want to do backtesting straight away, just like how we did with the liquidity entry model exercise, right? And you just add in each individual trade that you take, okay? So some days there's not going to be any trades, and you've just collected your forward test markup, or some days where you also actually take an individual trade or one sets up, record the individual trade stats in here, and then over time you would have built that up, okay? So you can either do that in the backtesting module, maybe you want to create a new table there, or you can actually go into the trade journal place and do it in here. This one probably is a bit better, because you can kind of just start to either trade it live like you are on your demo or your small account, or act as if you are trading live and just start this straight away. Okay, so imagine you're just starting now, you do your daily markup, you've already saved that down to your markups. Now you come into here, record the individual trade, okay? You've got all your confluence, etc. Each individual trade you can you can go in here and you can add in the actual screenshots of the trades as well, so you can have both that quantitative and qualitative review, and then you can really flesh this out. So then you get to the end of the month, right, and then you can do your month review if it was April, and you can add in all of your lessons here. Okay, we'll go into much more detail on this in the following modules where we talk about backtesting and journaling, but yeah, this is a really comprehensive way of doing it. So if I can keep it simple, once you have your trade plan, start forward testing every day with us, track it along, ideally euro dollar, right? Maybe you want to look at Aussie, track it along, make sure you do the forward test, okay? So do your markups every day and add them into whatever one you want to build out, like here, so you have that visual representation. But any time there is an individual setup or a trade that you take, I would highly recommend you either use the backtesting or the trade journal, and you start tracking this every day or every setup, all right, and build it out over time, okay? There is the calendar view as well. I don't think this is as good. Personally, I would probably recommend you use the table, but if you kind of want to, if you prefer it this way, you can just add a trade like we have here, and then you can fill this out as well, okay? Like, there's a million ways you can do this. The most important thing is you just pick away, commit to it, and it's something that's sustainable, so you keep doing it. Just being consistent is what's key, not having the most perfect way of tracking data, okay? So do this every day, compare it to ours, make sure you're collecting your own, and then, oh yeah, also add the trade examples to the trade setups folder, okay? So that's just what we spoke about at the start. As you're doing this over time, you'll notice a few clean setups, right? And you can just add this to your setups folder, so you can keep fleshing out examples of the individual entry models. So if you just wanted to really study your entry model too, right, they're all in one place, and you don't kind of have to filter through the table. It just can be handy, right? So that's how you get going. Literally 90% of you should just be concentrating on that. Just get going, just get forward testing, get comfortable with things, and just track us along. At the start, it's going to be a bit overwhelming, but as you do this day by day, week by week, you'll get so much more confident in what it is you're looking for and how the trade plan sets up in different market conditions, okay? So make sure you're at least doing this. Now, some of you might want to start doing step 3 straight away, okay? And that's essentially getting into actual backtesting, right? So again, a million ways you can do this. There's no right or wrong way. We always get flooded with questions like, should I do it this way, should I do it that way? It doesn't matter. Just start. What I would say is the sort of more easiest way and sort of the more sustainable method is this first thing here, where I've just said, do your weekly review, okay? So essentially what that would mean is you would be doing the forward testing every single day, along with us, watching the live market, you know, just like we've explained. Then when you get to the weekend, you just want to review the previous week, okay? So essentially backtest the previous week. Easiest way to do this is just with the benefit of hindsight. Okay, so no bar replay, just literally look at price, scroll back and just look and just see, you know, how price action played out. Look at your trade plan and compare it to the previous week. You know, look, did you miss any setups maybe in your markups initially? Could you have managed trades better? Because when you're doing your daily markup every day after the session, sometimes then when you actually go back and do the weekly review and you look back, you can actually view things in a slightly different way, and it can help you to really get a lot more confidence of seeing how the week played out with the benefit of hindsight. Some of you might want to be a bit more advanced and actually backtest the previous week properly and do like a proper bar replay backtest from scratch, and that can also be good, and you can collect your data. But if you only did that, that would be more than enough going forward. If you literally just reviewed the previous week each time, you know, within a few months, a quarter, by the end of the year, you're going to be super confident, and you're going to feel very experienced by doing that. So if you only just did your forward tests every day like that, whether you're demo trading or live trading, and then you just do a weekly review by backtesting, if you only did that for the rest of your career, I think you would do very well. For those of you who want to kind of take it to the next level, and or you want to speed up that backtesting process of collecting more data and getting more experience, then this is the second point where, you know, it's kind of the classic way of backtesting where you're just going to go, right, I want to backtest, you know, Q1 2022 or whatever year it is, and you'll just go there and you'll start January first week, load it up, whether you're using FX Replay or whatever backtesting software you want to use. You could use TradingView, and you literally just start backtesting from there, right? You just collect your data. So it's up to you how you want to do it, right? And you know, there's not really too much else I need to explain in terms of collecting the data. Just start a new backtest table, go in here and just add the trades, right? Chronological order, step by step. So whether you're doing just the previous week or you just picked a time period to start from, add it in here, okay? There's not really too much else, I need to say on that. And what I would say actually is we get questions a lot, people be doing their backtesting and they'll go, oh, what did you think of this? Utilize the historical team markups and the session recap videos, right? You have an amazing library. If you go into the Discord, there's literally, I think, a year and a half at this point of historical markups for London and New York session, for Eurodollar and Aussie dollar in here. And you can literally see our exact thought process on that day in here. And then also in the session recap videos, okay? So if you go into, if you click your dashboard when you're on the course and then come into the photo on service, you literally have, over 2 years worth now, I think, of session recap videos. And you can see our thought process playing out, primarily for the London session, to be fair. We don't do it for the New York session as things stand. And then we'll also flesh this out with more back tests as well if you want to see more examples. But yeah, use those to help you. Now, if you've seen a trade that we didn't mark up, that's fine, right? We miss things all the time. We're human, with rushing and doing things in the moment sometimes. But yeah, don't worry about it, but use that to your advantage. Now, last thing I'll say is with the back testing, This is a mistake I think a lot of people make at the start, is they pay too much attention to the stats. They're looking at their strike rate, they're looking at their P&L, and don't take this in the wrong way, those stats are kind of almost irrelevant at the start, because it's likely you're making a ton of mistakes. Like you're probably missing setups you don't even realize are there that meet your plan. Some of the setups you are taking probably are completely invalid and don't meet your actual plan. Knowing how to properly build a narrative and what actually is a high probability setup takes time and experience to kind of get to that point. So if you're just hitting, every single lower time frame liquidity entry model, you're probably going to take a lot of losses for the first few months, because it takes, like I said, that time and experience to know what is high probability and what isn't. So at the start, the visual review of your trades, it matters the most. So that's what I mean by going back through those daily markups and looking at your screenshots. That's what matters at the end of the week. Actually looking at it, was I just trying to buy in a really dumb area in a hard time frame, right? Your quantitative data isn't going to tell you that for the most part, like looking at your stats, but visually reviewing your screenshots will. Okay, so that's the most important start. As you get more experience and you're further down the line and you're making less mistakes, and you really know what your approach is and you really know what you're looking for, yes, then you can start to pay attention to your strike rate and your profit expectancy and really get lost in the detail of the data. Okay, but at the start, if you're jumping on FX replay and you're looking at the strike or whatever, that's not important. Don't waste your energy on that. Spend your energy going back through and visually reviewing what area of the market was I trying to trade, what was the overall narrative, right? That is what's most important, but that's the hard work that no one seems to want to do. But if you do that, everyone who you are seeing in the Discord right now, I don't want to put names there, but the ones who are doing really well and the ones who seem to just get it and understand the narrative, it's because they went through this process of reviewing it, of really going back through and trying to understand the why. They're the ones who get the quickest results, okay? And then, finally, just a few points. Zoom out, right? You could literally have 3 negative months in a row and still make, it's an arbitrary figure, but ATR by the end of the year. So many people do this with their own live trading, or particularly with backtesting, right? They start backtesting straight away and take a few losses, and they just think, oh, this doesn't work. It's like, no, that's not how trading works, okay? Yes, you could have positive months every single month. Yes, you could do really well. Of course, right? I'm not here to install limiting beliefs. But the amount of people who I've seen who have started backtesting and it's like, this doesn't work. And I was like, just keep going. Just get to, just get your 12 months of data. And then they're like, holy shit. They had triple digit returns by the end of the year. That's because the market moves in cycles. I don't want to rant on this, but just keep going. Okay. We are traders. We're not employees with fixed salaries, right? It doesn't work that you just make 10 hour every month. Now, your trade plan might be able to produce that in theory, right? That might be enough, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to execute it. You're going to miss things in the moment. Emotions are obviously going to get in the way. You might have whatever. Life gets in the way. It's not reality. So don't zoom out. Think from quarters to quarters, not month to month or week to week, or even session to session, which most people seem to do. Unfollow other traders on social media. Literally, the amount of people that just get FOMO from seeing some MT4 screenshot on their story or whatever, or they're in this trade or that trade, even if they trade the exact same way as you, just leave it be. It's you versus you. It will massively help to reduce the feeling of FOMO if you can do this. Just delete it altogether, right? Get off social media. It can be the devil for the most part. Last thing I will say is just fucking start. So many people do not do this. They literally just want to have the plan and they just want to trade, and they just think, they just do the same thing again, week by week by week. They're just getting stuck in, and they think by just forcing it in the market, they're suddenly just going to massively improve their results. Maybe it's doable, but for the most part, doing this process, forward testing properly, actually reviewing what you're doing, really journaling, and doing that back test, even if it's just a quickly weekly review, you spend an hour just scrolling back through with hindsight, or even 30 minutes. Right, worst case scenario, you just want to quickly scan back through the previous week before the week ahead. That will put you leagues ahead of 90% of the market, because no one does this. Trust me, no one does this consistently, and it will make such a big difference, even if you spend 20, 30 minutes scanning back through, okay? So just start. Get stuck in. And remember, procrastination is a privilege, right? There's no perfect way to do this. Don't try and get the perfect Notion template and I'm going to do this, this, and this, and plan out all of this back. Just start. Just get stuck in and start, okay? Sorry, I just have to keep ranting about it, because so many people, they wait months and months and months, and then eventually the penny drops, and then they go and do it, and then they message me 2 months later, and they've literally just backtested tons of stuff, and their confidence has skyrocketed. And they're like, oh, I wish I just did this 4 months ago. I would have saved so much time. And that's kind of why I'm passionate about really just trying to drill this into you now, okay? Backtesting isn't easy. There's no easy way to do it. You will get frustrated. It will knock your confidence at times, but you just need to get stuck in and make it work, and you will get there. And you will guarantee or give yourself the best possible chance of success by doing this process. And then the last thing I'll say is, at the start, it's a lot of work, it's tough, and it's hard, and you kind of just have to grind. But over the longer run, you want to try and pick a process that is most sustainable for you. Okay, something that you can do week in, week out, and it doesn't feel like, I've got to do this weekend. And you don't want to make it feel like a massive chore, and that's where you want to find